Spring is on the way. Some would say it's actually here, and today we're going to do a spring floral wreath. So here's my inspiration. So to start with, here is my cleaned up drawing. So when it comes to actually starting to paint, I'm a bit of a coward and I always like to paint with something fairly straightforward and not the key elements first. So we'll start with the hellebore leaves. I start with a sort of desaturated green, number 58, and into it I put a tiny bit of alizarin crimson just to mimic that reddy tinge to the leaves. So paint at the bottom, nice and juicy and dark. Rinse the brush, dry it off, and then just pull out that wet paint so that you get a change in value. Dark at the very bottom. I leave a tiny little gap of white for the center vein. So juicy paint at the bottom, clean off, rinse your brush, and then pull out the paint so that you go lighter towards the end and your leaves move in space. So I've painted in the blue jay and I've put a little bit of grey on the back of my chickadee. It's time to do the chickadee's tummy, which is a little bit of yellow, which is my number 40 mixed with some white. We'll paint in the eggs next, a sure sign of spring. While I have this turquoise on my brush, I'm going to put just a little bit in the tail feathers of my blue jay and a little bit on his wing feathers. Our blue jay has a grey tummy, so I start by painting in at the top near his beak with my grey. Then I rinse my brush and I drag the paint down. Sadly, my hellebores are not yet in flower, so I'm going to use as reference a couple of pictures of my mother's hellebores. I'm going to lighten the center, so I just erase that a little bit. I'm going to begin by painting in the yellow or the greeny yellow center, just with a couple of light flecks. Originally, I had thought about making these snowdrops, but then I decided that was too backward looking, so I'm going to make them grape hyacinths. And I like to turn my page so that I'm sort of painting away from myself. As the wreath progresses, I'll add some more leaves and I'll interweave them with my twigs so we get a nice rich look. For the hellebores, I use my eraser to pick up some of the pencil line to lighten it. I really want to stick to my yellow, green, blue theme, so I'm going to make my hellebores this pale greeny yellow colour, but we'll put some purple speckles on. For the grape hyacinths, I take my favourite blue, which of course is number 64. I start at the top with a little bell shape, 2 strokes, and then just filling in. I love these flowers so much, they're just such a welcome sign of spring. To make the characteristic bell shape, I do just a tiny swipe across at the bottom. Then I add a tiny bit more blue to my brush and I put in a little bit more blue on one side. It just makes them more three-dimensional. This darker blue on my brush, I'm going to put another swipe on my blue jay's wing. And I think I'll just darken just by the crest a little too. So sometimes one realizes one's actually painted in the flower going the wrong way. So I have a space here for another grape hyacinth. So I'm just going to add another stem like this and paint in another grape hyacinth. And this is the beauty of doing a wreath. You can do whatever you want. So my wreath looks like this, and naturally I'm itching to add some details on the birds, but we're going to put in a few of the twigs and then we'll go to the details. I have this small spiky tree, I'm not sure what it is, at the bottom of the garden, but I kind of like the elegant spikes, and that's what we'll use to fill in our wreath. So once you've got the basic elements in, I would advise you very strongly to take a break, walk around for 5 minutes, and then come back and look at it with a very critical eye. I like what I'm seeing. I'm going to add just a few more leaves to my grape hyacinth. If you feel like you've got a gap anywhere, you can either add more grape hyacinth leaves or you can develop the twigs. And this pattern sort of alludes to a nest structure too, which I think is kind of nice for springtime. I'm adding a little bit more of that greeny yellow, and I'm just going to tuck in a couple of leaves as if they're starting to come from out of the... And you can put these in anywhere where you think, I've got a tiny bit of a gap, a bit of brown, and I'm going to speckle my eggs. Just the tip of your brush and the lightest touch. Hellebore leaves have a rim of magenta around them, so again with my thin brush, I'm just going to add just a little outline to the hellebore leaves. And a couple of dots to the centers of my hellebores as well. I want my hellebore flowers to stand out a little, so I'm going to take a little bit of periwinkle and just go round the petals. So now comes the really fun part, which is of course the birds. So a little bit of subdued purple grey coming in just underneath the throat of my blue jay. And we'll put a little bit of that same dilute colour just here, just at the base around his tummy, just to give him more shape too. Very dilute a little bit on his tummy too. For both beaks, I add a little bit of black to my periwinkle. I don't want the beak to be jet black. And I'm going to leave a little bit of white on it. We're going to define our blue jay's eyes. So we go round as if he's wearing eyeliner. And the same thing for our little chickadee. Finally, some black. So black around the beak of the blue jay and around his head. And now you can fill in the eye. So that's just a little circle, but leaving a tiny bit of white at the center. If you don't leave the white, you can always add it in with a dot with the Doc Martens white. Under the chickadee's beak. And since he is a black-capped chickadee, we're going to do his little black hat. I love the drama of these final black touches on my birds. So here is your final wreath, and it could be a beautiful Easter card or a Mother's Day card or whatever you wish, but welcome to spring. This is just such a fun project, and I really hope you'll enjoy doing it. I can't wait to see what you do.